Oh, okay, perfect. We are now recording. Welcome again, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on the Reef Eco Village Questions and Answers webinar. Last week, we had a session debuting this project, introducing tiny homes to you there on the Caribbean coast of Honduras. A project we are so extremely excited about. As you can see there in the picture, there's the beautiful Caribbean coastline with the mountains in the back. In between, there are dole pineapple plantations and just a plethora of other sort of vegetation that's growing and different farmland that's there too. It truly is paradise. And because of the incredible response that we received from the session last week, we decided today to host a Q&A to go through those questions with you. So this isn't going to be a full presentation about the project. We are specifically going to be focusing on questions that have been coming in, also the questions that are on your mind. One housekeeping item is that there's the email address there at the bottom of the screen. You can see webinar@ecidevelopment.com, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. As you have any questions that pop up, maybe after the session, or maybe there's something that we just don't get to, feel free to email us there, webinar@ecidevelopment.com, and that is where we will get back to you on. So thank you everybody again for joining us. My name is Rachel Jensen. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for ECI Development. I missed you all last week on the presentation. We decided to let Patrick and Spencer and my colleague Leslie debut this really exciting project for you. And I'm sure they did a great job. And we know that because phase one did end up selling out that night. Actually, we ended up moving on to phase two the following day. And then officially as of Monday this week, we have launched that phase two site. So we are extremely excited to see all these like-minded owners coming together and deciding to own at such an incredible property. But I live in Belize. I've lived all throughout Latin America. I'm a resident of Panama, spent time in Nicaragua, just all across the board. And all of these countries really have something different to offer. And Honduras is a place I visited, I think back in 2013 or 14 for the first time. It's a place that I'm excited to continue returning to, and can't wait to have you all down there and be part of our community too. But with that being said, I'm going to introduce to you Patrick Hebert. Patrick was on the session last week. He's our Chief Operations Officer. And Patrick, why don't you just give us a little overview, a little reminder of who you are and your backstory here in the region?
Sure. Thanks, Rachel. It's good to have you back, Rachel. I told everybody last week that when you had trouble falling asleep, you'd put on a webinar that I was hosting. So.
No, I listened to the recording. I told you I didn't even fall asleep during the recording, so you did a great job.
Getting better, I guess. But as I said last week, I'm really excited about this property or this project and the community here. It's despite how uninteresting I might be to listen to, it's always great when you have a spectacular kind of subject to talk about like this, and I'm really excited about it. I had a chance to spend some time at Gran Atlántida last year, and when we kind of started coming up with the idea of creating the Reef Eco Village there, and I just really love the area. It's just amazing. It's just an unusually unique little part of the world. And the Caribbean is always known for its turquoise waters and white sands and everything, but what I really liked about this property, it had all those things, had the diving and everything that you expect from the Caribbean, but it also had mountains in the background, which I honestly didn't even know were going to be there, and they're quite impressive. And that opens up a whole bunch of other things. I mean, there's lots of waterfalls, whitewater rafting, those sorts of different types of things that you can do when you have a different kind of environment. And being on the mainland, looking over at Roatan, one of the things. I've lived on a couple different islands, one in Canada, one in the Caribbean, and it's always cool. And I love living on islands, but sometimes it's just it's nice to be on the mainland where you're connected by roads to other things, and you have a city nearby to have a wider range of groceries and all the types of things like that. So hopefully you can't hear that. My neighbor is grinding some concrete or something in the background, so I'll keep this short. But I'll let maybe Spencer talk about how him and I really got into designing tiny eco communities and living on a boat and that sort of thing. But looking forward to going through this, and I'll mute now while my neighbor's being annoying.
Alrighty, yeah. Well, my name's Spencer Hebert. I represent Eco Villages, and what we do is we've designed the Reef, and we designed off-grid and hybrid-powered tiny home communities, generally throughout Central America. The reason we focus on Central America is for two main reasons, really. One is the quantity of sun. It's just a lot more practical to build these off-grid communities there. The systems are way more efficient. And also another big one would be the laws or the restrictions. They don't limit you to how big or small you have to build in certain areas. A lot of the time in North America and throughout the world, you'll see tiny homes built on trailers. And for that reason, they're built kind of awkwardly and narrow. They can be very well designed as well, but it gives you a lot of freedom in these in Central America to design however you want, because you don't have to fit it to be limited within road restrictions. So that's why you often see them on trailers, is because they can't legally be insured as a home or built as a home. So they have to be insured as a trailer. And so you'll find a lot of tiny homes built on trailers, but that's the reason for that. And there's a cool opportunity in Central America to actually have a tiny home that's on a foundation, a solid concrete home that's going to last forever. So that's why we really like to focus on this part of the world. As my dad mentioned, the background of us kind of getting into this, it started with a passion for sailing. I won't dive into it too much because we want to focus on the Reef here today, but on boats, particularly sailboats, they're very self-sufficient. And I grew up sailing. I ended up living on a sailboat and also working in the marine industry while I was living on a sailboat for about 4 years. And in that time, they discovered a lot of different techniques and systems that they use to keep boats extremely self-sufficient. And that's kind of how it segued into us designing. We figured, why not use these same small, efficient designs that boats have and put that into a community on land? There's no reason not to. So that's what we've done here.
Awesome, thank you. And so also not on the screen, but here joining us today is a very special guest. A lot of you have been asking about the developers of this project. And I think many of you have known us over the years, or maybe you're just starting to get to know us. And we as ECI Development have properties all throughout Latin America, but the one country that really was lacking was Honduras, and we were continuing to get requests for it. So as we got to know the co-developers of this project, I think it was about 3-4 years of talking and doing due diligence on each other, checking out the property, scouting out the land, making sure it was a beautiful place that we wanted to offer to you all. We really got to know the co-developers quite well. So today joining us here is Jeff Hines. He's one of the co-developers of the project. And I invited Jeff on to talk a little bit more about his story. He's been living in Honduras for 15 years, why he chose Honduras, why he chose this specific location, and to go from there. So Jeff, the floor is yours.
Hi, yeah, my name is Jeff Hines. We're builders, developers here in Honduras. Can you hear me well, Rachel?
Perfectly, yes.
Okay. And we fell in love with Honduras on a trip here. And 15 years ago, we moved our family here. And so my background is in engineering management. And so that kind of covers all the fields of engineering. And we've done commercial builds, residential builds. We also do work for nonprofits, building schools, bridges, community centers, and love doing that. Love doing that. And so a couple of years ago, we came across this property. Absolutely blew us away. A little over 2 miles of beachfront with the backdrop of a beautiful mountain range that extends up to about 7,000 feet. So then with jungle behind us, the wildlife on the property, just amazing amounts of monkeys and quadrimundis and parrots and even toucans. And we just fell in love with this property. And so we've worked hard to get electricity, water, to get infrastructure in, to start building homes. And we met Patrick in Toronto and hit it off. And through that correspondence, Patrick came to the property and said, hey, why don't we try to do a tiny home project here? And so that's a new concept for us. And we're really excited. We've joined up with Spencer, who has done the designing on the project. And going back to our life here in Honduras, I mean, I sent my kids to college and they came back to live here. So that's how much they love Honduras and the people of Honduras. Well, that's what makes Honduras the most special, is its people, the jungle, the Caribbean, the islands, the beaches. It's just a fantastic country all the way around.
Awesome. And Jeff, remind us where you're originally from.
So I moved here from Colorado Springs area. And so we had mountains there, but no beach. And so we got all the cold, and I love the mountains, but it's nice to be able to look at the mountains while you're sitting on the beach.
Yeah, that is stunning. And folks, I pulled up the picture again from the home screen so you can get an idea of the visuals that Jeff was talking about. You can see the Caribbean waters there. You can see the jungle landscape where you have those howler monkeys and the Cotamundes. And then behind that, the mountains that Jeff mentioned. It just truly is a stunning, stunning property. So we went through a little bit about who we are as an organization. ECI Development is a development company that's been around in Latin America for about 25 years at this point. We specialize in helping folks find real estate in Latin America. You could be from anywhere, North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, but we want to help you find a place that really fits what you're looking for. We understand not everybody is looking to be by the Pacific or the Caribbean. Some people are looking for vineyards. Some people are looking for tropical highlands. So by having a plethora, by having a variety of properties in our portfolio, we really take the time to listen to what you want and what you're looking to accomplish. In addition to the real estate, there is the agricultural side of it. Teak, I think some of you have heard about us in the teak industry. You're able to own your own teak parcels with us, the hardwood. But obviously, we're not here to focus on teak. Although we have info sessions on all of these, we're really focusing today on the project here in Honduras. So really excited about it. As Jeff mentioned, there's nearly 2 miles of the Caribbean beach. It's very close to Roatan, Utila. So for those of you who are divers or snorkelers or fishermen, you're able to hop easily over to these islands or stay there in La Ceiba. You might as well just stay in La Ceiba, which is there just a couple miles away from the property, also considered the ecotourism capital of the country. Now, last week, our team did do a presentation all about this specific project, about the reef specifically. So I'm not going to go through the entire presentation again because we really covered this. If you want a copy of the recording, if you didn't get that, or maybe you're new to this session, why don't you reach out to us, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. We'll send this over to you, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. You can get a recording. So then that way we can really spend the next 45 minutes here, focus on the questions that you have. But as you can just see for reference, La Ceiba is the closest city to the project. And then we have Utila and then Roatan. For those of you who, like I said, who are divers, fishermen, snorkelers, probably heard of this area over here. This is really the tourism mecca for the country. And this is typically where folks tend to fly into. You can fly into Roatan. There's an international airport there. You can fly into La Ceiba. There's an international airport there. And then you're just 15, 20 minutes away from the project. And, you know, for us, we've been in the development field for a while, and you don't tend to find many great land opportunities now, at least affordable ones that are close to big international airports like that. A lot of them, if they are close to civilization and close to airports, they tend to cost quite a bit. So really excited about this and being able to offer such a great project for such an affordable option. So here you go, 4 miles actually from the international airport, 42 miles from Roatan. And then you can see there, we talked about this before, but the 2 miles of beachfront. I mean, that's direct Caribbean beachfront right there off of the property. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all of this because you did this last week on the presentation, but I do want to mention that we offered phase 1 on the webinar last week. Phase 1 actually ended up selling out that evening. Our team was hard at work placing folks in the homes that best suited what they were looking for. So as of Monday this week, we did an official launch of phase 2. So if you're somebody who's interested in learning more, do reach out to us about phase 2 and the future opportunities that will be here on site. So as we mentioned, we're going to be talking specifically about the tiny homes. These are the Eco Village tiny homes that Spencer did an incredible job really putting together. And something that we as an organization really put a lot of emphasis on is this sense of community and third spaces. We're all people who came from North America, primarily, not exclusively, but primarily from North America. And now we're living in the tropics. And when you live in the tropics, you tend to live outside. You're going to the beach, you're diving, or you're hanging around here listening to live music. And so when we were putting together the creation of this community, we really wanted to focus on those third spaces, places for people to come together to enjoy that outdoors. So you'll see the stage, as you can see here in the background, music stage. So if we have any musicians who plan to be owners with us, maybe you can do a gig up there. In addition to that, there will be retail stores here at the Reef. So if you're more of an entrepreneur and you're somebody who is looking to relocate, get away, but you're not necessarily ready to retire, well, then you can set up shop there. And who knows, maybe even thinking about an ice cream shop, or perhaps you're someone, I was talking to someone earlier who's looking to do like a little moped scooter rental. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for you to continue your passions, further your passions, or perhaps you just want to sit back and relax and or serve the rental market. You're certainly able to do so as well. But again, really creating these third spaces and the amenities for our owners and guests is something that is incredibly important. And so I mentioned before the small business. So if you're somebody who wants to set up shop, you're able to do that here. Reach out to us directly. We can talk to you about what those opportunities look like. But then the common area, so the pool area, if you're a digital nomad, for example, somebody who can maybe open up your laptop, do work anywhere, you can spend 2, 3, 4 months in a different location. Perhaps this is a place that you would be interested in. And it's interesting too, because I think Patrick and Spencer have mentioned our other tiny homes in Panama and Nicaragua and Belize. And we have owners who own in multiple countries. So I had one lady in the Reef who owns at Ava, our tiny homes in Nicaragua. She also has tiny homes in Belize, a tiny home in Belize. So you could be someone who could serve those rental markets, or perhaps yourself just spend time in each of the locations. And then again, going back to the music, the music studio there. So maybe you're an aspiring singer and you haven't had the chance to do it yet. This could be your place to do so. So some of the tiny homes, they really feature these eco-friendly, sustainable options. Again, I'm not going to get too much into the details because that was done previously, but phase 1 is sold out. Phase 2 at this point is open now for reservations. 3 of the homes there out of the 12 are reserved. So this is a great time to let us know what your interests are, and we can find a home that works for you. There are 3 specific models, as you heard about in the presentation last week. There's the 1-bedroom model, starting at about $93,000, all in about $110,000. There's the coral model here. This is more of the loft. One of my favorite parts of this model, there are 2 things actually that I like about this model. Number 1 is the net feature here on the top. I think that is an awesome use of space. You can get your favorite book, lounge there, read a good story, a good novel. And also for those of you, I think I know a lot of you on the line, and I think you know that I'm a very big pug fan. So when I saw the pug here in the rendering, I just thought that this was maybe a model that I should go after personally. But you can see here that these homes start at about $104,000, and then all in, when you have the furniture, the appliance, the closing cost, at about $123,000. And then this one has proven to be the most popular model so far. This is the Delphine model, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and these start at about $115,000, work up to $137,000 when you add in the closing costs, appliances, furniture. So all in for a home that is right there at the beach, right there by the beach. It is so affordable, and I'm guessing that's why a lot of you are here on the line. Now, I do also want to make this disclaimer that it depends on the time that you're listening to the presentation. Will dictate what the prices are, because of the fact that as we continue to build, as construction costs go up, as there are more phases, prices do increase. So if you're listening to this a year from now, don't expect the numbers to be the same. They will most likely be higher as we do introduce new phases. There is price increases. So just take note of that. But all right, let's take this time now. I'm going to just mention this and I'll take the questions. There are a few ways that you are able to own the home. So number one is cash. We have staged payment plans based on the construction progress. You claim your home for $999, and then with your paperwork, you will be requested 50% less your deposit. The next payment will be 20%. That's due when the foundation is. The next is 20%. That's when the walls are up, and the final 10% plus the closing when the home is complete. In addition, we will be offering financing in phase 3. So if you're somebody who wants to finance, next phase will be right for you. And then we also accept cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum, Litecoin, more USDT, for example, is another one that we accept. And then also we accept gold and silver. I think this is a fun one for people, but if you maybe have that bag of silver coins or gold coins under your mattress and you're looking to do something safe with it, this could be the right option for you. And then for folks who are interested from the States and interested in using a self-directed IRA, you are able to do that, but you do need an LLC that is owned entirely by your self-directed IRA. If anyone's interested in that, let us know and we can send you the details. So if you've reached out to us previously, you probably heard from some of our team members. They're an incredible group of diligent workers who are really working hard to make sure you find your dream home. So with that, we are going to just jump to the questions. Like I mentioned, I didn't want to give a whole hour presentation again since we did that last week. If you did not get a copy of that recording, just email us there, webinar@ecidevelopment.com, webinar@ecidevelopment.com, request that recording, and we will send that over to you. So you're going to go ahead there, Patrick. I see you unmuted.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to touch on something you'd brought up, and it is an important point. Obviously the popularity of these little homes is very high, and we sold out the first phase when we just started talking about it, and we're getting reservations into phase 2 now, that is really just opened yesterday or day before, whenever it was. So there's two reasons why, if you're interested. And I'm the last thing from a high pressure salesperson. In fact, I'm a terrible salesperson, but I do want to say, from an operational standpoint and construction standpoint, I think most people are aware of the cost of concrete, steel, wood, and all those things is going up dramatically. And I know wood in the US and in our area here has gone up as much as 400 or 500% in the last month or two. And that does make it difficult for us to keep the prices of these homes as low as we have been able to. So you'd mentioned, if you're watching this in a year again, I'd say if you're watching this in 6 weeks, the prices are probably going to be different. So do if you are interested, do reserve a home. It's a refundable reservation. So if you change your mind in the next week or two, that's fine. We have lots of people that want them. But the other flip side of that is, from an investment standpoint or a capital gain standpoint, there's no promises, of course, on which direction things will go. But if the cost to build homes all over the world continues to rise, that obviously just means that the cost of existing homes will go up along with it. So from a kind of covering yourself on the financial side, if you put $100,000 into a tiny home now, and 6 months from now that same tiny home is going to cost $140,000 to buy, then it's good if you have one now, right? So just from that standpoint. And the other thing you mentioned, Rachel, and I don't think we touch on this quite enough sometimes, and it's strange for me because it is my lifestyle, and my wife and my lifestyle, and we don't really consciously think of it, but we really spend a lot of time these days, probably a third of the time in Belize, a third of our time in Nicaragua, and a third of the time in Panama. And what that does is it allows us to have, some time in the Caribbean, some time on the Pacific Ocean, and some time in the, up in the highlands, wherever we want to go in those countries. And, I guess we're just digital nomads without thinking about it, but because of the price of these homes, normally if a home was going to cost you $300,000 or $400,000 to have somewhere that you were thinking of. You know, if you have one and two locations or three locations at 100,000-ish each, I mean, it's pretty cool. You really, if you have three of them, for instance, and I'm not suggesting you do that, but if you have three of them, the two that you're not staying in are on the rental market, so they're earning you money as well. So it's really become our lifestyle, and I really like it because I'm a bit of a nomad, I guess, in general. I like to change, environments once in a while, and that works great for me. I'm always excited when, I have to travel a lot for work anyway, but it's always excited when I know I'm packing my bag to stay at the next place for a while, and change the environment and meet the friends that I haven't seen for a little while and that sort of thing. So I just thought it was worth mentioning, because sometimes I think people don't realize that that's the real opportunity for them.
Agreed. It is true, Patrick. We never really thought about ourselves as digital nomads, but I guess we're digital nomads because the job allows us to be, and actually encourages it. Like, oh, go spend a few months here, go spend a few months there, check out the region. But hopefully, all of you listening have the opportunity to do that, or perhaps you're positioning yourself to have the opportunity to be a digital nomad at some point. And I know that we have a lot of different opportunities, obviously, but something that we did talk about, and we had a guest speaker, this was probably about 6 months ago, was about how to really digitize your business. So if you're not quite at that point where you really know how to work remotely, then reach out to us. We'll send you a copy of that recording so that you're able to tune in and listen to some potential ideas. All right, so the first question here, I had a bunch of questions that were sent beforehand. I don't know if you can see in there that I have a green screen a little bit. A bunch of questions that were sent beforehand. I see a handful that were coming here into the Q&A section as well. And what I am going to do is just read through those. And then Jeff, Patrick, Spencer, feel free to jump in at any point and get those answered for our guests here. So we did answer this one before, but how far to La Ceiba, or how close is La Ceiba? And Jeff, give us a best estimate there of miles to La Ceiba, the big town, the big city, from the project.
Okay, so we're about 9 miles from downtown and about 7 miles from where the city begins. So as you can see by that map there, the city of La Ceiba is the 3rd largest city in Honduras. So it depends on where you call town beginning. At the airport, 4 miles. So basically it kind of runs from the airport in. And then when you get out here, you feel like you're 100 miles away from civilization. And that's what one of the things that we love about this property. As you can see from the photo of the actual property, you could not tell that you are 4 miles away from the 3rd largest city in the country. And that's one of the beauties. One of the beauties of Honduras is that there's just so much jungle, mountain spaces. And so, yeah, so that's how far away we are.
And just
awesome.
That picture in the bottom right corner while you've got this slide going, Rachel, is I like that picture because it does show the mountains a little bit better in the back. But you know what? The pictures just don't do the reality justice. Those mountains seem so much bigger than they look like in that picture, and much more impressive. But you can see this is actual homes that are on the property now at Gran Atlántida, and the beautiful homes right on the sand, right there. And so you've got all that around you. Someday we're gonna have to find a way to have pictures do justice to what our eyes see, but for now we'll have to live with this.
Yeah, technology is probably closer than we realize. The VR headset, I think, is the solution in the meantime. All right, and something else I do want to mention there, and you can see here on the picture, is that the project over in this area, and then La Ceiba here on the right-hand side. And if you're somebody, actually let me do a quick poll. Go to find the Q&A section, guys, of the control panel. And if you're looking at this opportunity from a lifestyle perspective, like you're ready to move, you want to spend more time down here, maybe you want to be a snowbird 6 months, type yes into the Q&A panel. If you're looking at this from more of an investment perspective, type no. So type yes if you're looking at this from a residential perspective, type no if you're looking at this from an investment perspective. I'm just curious here. So yes, somebody's looking to live. And I see I got a lot of you here on the line, but it looks like you're being a little shy. Somebody no investment. So yes, lifestyle, no. Or I guess you could put lifestyle or residential. I'm confusing this, I think, for no reason. But I'm just getting curious as to what it is. Yes, lifestyle, no investment. So Charles looking for a lifestyle. All right, I see a lot of you here are being a little shy. Maybe you're zoning out and doing something else, but that's okay too. All right. So it looks like, generally, and that's typically what we see, about 50% of people are looking at it from a lifestyle perspective. 50% are looking at it from an investment perspective. So what I'm about to say is relevant, I think, to both groups. When you're looking at a property from a lifestyle perspective, you are probably looking to be close to a community of some sort. And for some people, maybe for you, it's important to be close to supermarkets or to be close to airports, for example, to have access to public transportation. For those of you who are looking at it from an investment perspective, you want to know that your guests are going to be able to do things, to get out and be active. And so what I think is really unique about this project is the fact that it is so close to La Ceiba, the third largest city in Honduras. You're able to access it quickly. You're able to jump in a taxi and be in the heart of town in a couple of minutes. Or if you want to go to Roatan and go island hopping for a little bit, you can be at the island in 15, 20 minutes from a little puddle jumper, or about an hour, 15, hour and a half if you want to take the water ferry. So it's quick access to the islands. You're there on the mainland, so you have the mainland conveniences, but you're easily able to be out there in the Caribbean, able to go to the supermarket, able to do those sort of things that are impactful in your daily life and the way that you live. All right. The question I'm seeing here. So how long has the property?
Can I jump in, Rachel?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. So one of the things I think that really is excellent about this property, like you mentioned, is that we have the access to really all the amenities that are close by, that the infrastructure basically that's needed, for normal life, right? Hospitals, grocery stores, supermarkets. We even have a Walmart in town, which is a plus for some and a negative for others. And all the fast foods. Of course, the U.S. has hit here. But one of the things about, we've got you mentioned about diving. So we called this development of mini homes the Reef, and that's not just a tag, right? A catchphrase. Actually, the best dive reef of the islands happens to be closer to us than it is to the Bay Islands. And so they come over to where we are to do diving off the Banco Sal Medina, which is the newest that found reef here in Honduras. So it was just recently discovered, not long ago, so it hasn't been exploited like other places. And there is no island around it. It's just a reef that lies about 10 feet underwater. And so local fishermen, of course, knew about it for years, but the dive industry just recently discovered that. So another fact is, if you get on the rooftops of our houses, you can see the Bay Islands. So that's how close we actually are to the Bay Islands.
Awesome. Hopefully we have some divers on the line. You go check out the reef. That sounds awesome. I'm a diver here, and I did go to Roatan actually in that area. I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago to go diving. First place I saw a seahorse was in Honduras. They're hard to see, underwater. They move quite quickly, and they're pretty camouflaged, but really awesome diving over there in that part of Honduras. All right, so the next question I'm seeing here is, how long has the property been in the hands of the developer? And we know it's been about 4 years that Jeff, you've been working on this. And then what is at the property now? Why don't you give us, a list of, you mentioned what's around, or what your vision is for this property as well, and how you want to see it develop.
Okay, so what we have right now is we've put in the roads, the water and electricity are to more or less 50% of the development has access to those. And then you can see the homes in the lower right-hand portion. Those are the ones that we have built so far. And it's actually quite a chore to develop a property. It requires years of due diligence. It requires years of preparing infrastructure, permitting, all the things that go into getting a property moving forward. And so we've been here for about 4 years on the property. I personally live on the property with my family. And so that's what's on the property now, besides the homes, is obviously we have the jungle, the wildlife, but we also have a mahogany plantation that's currently on the property with about, I think 600-700 mahogany trees that are almost, that are about 15 years old, I believe. We have a plantain plantation. All this is organic. We have rambutan, which is known as leeches. I don't know how they refer to that in English. We also have a cacao plantation for chocolate. And we are studying the possibilities of a new type of coffee that will grow in this lower lying area. And so, yeah, that's what's on the property at this point.
I think the other thing too, I remember when being there, you have small horse stables and fenced in area for horses. And a lot of our friends and neighbors around the different communities like to take horseback riding on the beach or board their own horse there. So that's important. I think one of the things that you said, Gran Atlántida is obviously it's a newer development, and a lot of the things like the communal orchards and gardens and the common areas and third spaces that Spencer was talking about with the music stage and those sorts of things are still coming. And as we develop the Reef community, those will be coming along too. But one of the things that's important, and we touched on it earlier, is that, the proximity of the property to the city, which means like in some of the properties we develop, we have to put a grocery store on there. We have to put multiple restaurants. We have to, put a school sometimes, or churches, or whatever these are, parts of a typical town in a community. But when you're only a couple miles away from a big city, you can enjoy all the amenities like that. You can go for dinner to a really nice restaurant in La Ceiba, and then you're only a couple miles back to home. And so as these things get developed, it'll be nice to have, and the pools and all those things, but you're not really lacking in those things to start out with, which, Rachel, you mentioned an extremely important point. Make a quick little story here. In about 1999 or 2000, Spencer was pretty young at that time, but we would go to Puerto Vallarta, and I was actually just there yesterday, and that's what reminded me. We were looking at things in Mexico, and we'd go there, and I'd kind of walk around the neighborhood around the hotel we stayed at, and I remember looking at a home, and strangely enough, it was a smaller home, but it was right near the beach, much like these are in the Reef, and it was $140,000. I thought, oh, I'm not spending $140,000. I didn't have $140,000 at the time, but even if I did, I'm not spending it. And I'm in a third world country, and I don't know what's going to go on. And then 2 years later or so, we came back there, and I checked them again, and those homes were just under $400,000. And then about a year and a half or 2 years later, we came again, and they were just under $700,000. And now they're all over $1 million, because they're right beside or very near to the Puerto Vallarta, in the Puerto Vallarta Marina area, which is very like a 5-10 minute drive from the airport. So you'd mentioned it at the beginning, Rachel, it's really rare to find something with this level of convenience where you can be a few minutes from an international airport, but still feel, and beside a city with all those amenities, but still feel like you're way outside of it when you're actually there. And that's true. When I stayed there, my wife and I stayed there a few nights and visited Jeff and the other residents that were there. We all went out for dinner. It was a lot of fun. And, when you get back in the evening and go to bed, you'd think you're out in the middle of nowhere, right? And it's very isolated. but I like that about that, where you've got the amenities and the combination like that.
And one of the things that you're mentioning there, I mean, also the property is so large that it gives an incredible buffer between the development and any surrounding infrastructure. If from the aerial, on an aerial of it, you could see that Dole Fruit Company provides a buffer for us with their pineapple fields between us and the city of La Ceiba. So to get to La Ceiba, you drive through the pineapple fields to get to the main road, and then you're at the airport basically at that point, and then you're headed into town. So also one of the questions that we usually get about safety and security, and I've lived in La Ceiba for almost 16 years now. I started living in downtown La Ceiba with my small children, and we had no incidents in those years. And so always people are saying, well, what is it like? Well, you see the news, you see all the hype. Of course, they don't put any positives in the news, but just for 10 of those 15 years, we lived in downtown La Ceiba with our family, with our small children. And so just as a point of reference. And so it's great to be near that size of a city. But it's also great to be able to have that buffer and get away and feel like you're, 100 miles away from civilization.
Yeah, and I like the way that that you put that. And I know, and I don't know if we have numbers there in the slides, but the property is about 800 acres in total, folks. So it gives you a good idea of the scope. I mean, it's actually hard to envision what 800 acres looks like, but it's a lot. And as Jeff mentioned, 2 miles of beachfront there. So there's plenty of land around. And then as Jeff also mentioned, there are a handful of different plantations there on the property, the mahogany and the lychees and the different plants there, which I think is pretty neat. I was thinking, Jeff, it must smell amazing as you're driving into the property and going through the pineapple plantations. That's pretty neat. We don't have that out here on Yarmburgers Key. I'll tell you that. We don't really have farms out here on the island. So that's a nice mainland advantage for sure. And I know, a question, speaking of farms, something that we get quite a bit is, can you garden at your tiny home? And certainly you are able to do that. But as you see here too, we do have the communal gardens and orchards. So if you don't necessarily want to garden there at your house, you are able to do it in the shared space there. So something for you to bear in mind. And then also the question that I saw pop up is, how many homes are there right now? Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, there's 6 homes.
There are 6 homes and 4 villas at this point.
Awesome. 6 homes and 4 villas. Awesome. And tell us a little bit, you started to mention this before, but tell us what the tourism market is like, because we do have about half the folks who are looking at this from an investment perspective. What is La Ceiba like in terms of tourism? I know you mentioned the diving and the reef right out there. So I'm guessing you're drawing a lot of divers into the area. Is there any other demographic of folks that you're seeing in terms of tourism?
So one of the things that I think makes us stand out from possibly any of the other ECI properties is the fact that we're in the tourism capital of Honduras. And this is a jumping off point also for the Bay Islands. And so during the holidays and the summer months, our city swells from about 250 to 300,000 to around 700,000. And so the rental opportunities are huge in the local market. We're not just focusing on, tourists coming from North America, but we're the tourism center also for Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. So during those months, we see massive influx of people. Guatemala has very little in terms of beaches. El Salvador has the Pacific, but no Atlantic, no Caribbean. And of course, the rest of Honduras, which comes, La Ceiba is known as the novia, which means the bride or girlfriend of Honduras. because this is the place. I mean, this is the place for holidays, for vacations, and so we have an incredible hotel deficiency in our city, and rooms are not available to house all these people. And so part of the thing that excites us is the rental opportunities that people will have out here at the Reef, because they're the type of rentals people like. It's an entire structure to yourself, and so you can have your family in there, but you're not wall to wall with someone else. You have your kitchen, you have so the setup is really perfect for vacationing with family. And so if there's one thing Latin Americans are known for, it's family, and they travel in family groups. And so we're excited because we believe that the rental potential for the owners at the Reef will be fantastic. One of the other reasons is that the North American tourism is usually December through April, and that's when things really liven up here in the local market. And by local, I mean Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. And so if you decide to come and live, 3 months out of the year in your tiny home, then you a lot of times, if you do that and you're taking out the nice warm months from North America, you're also taking away your rental potential, because you're taking up the most exclusive months. But that would not be the case here. Our high rental period is going to be May through November. And so you can come here, own a property, stay here January through April, and then have amazing rental potential during those other months.
Awesome. All right. So the other question we're seeing a lot of questions come in, so I'm going to just try to group these together. But one, I just saw that comes in that relates to what you were just saying, and I see there's a lot before it, but it just relates to what you're just saying, is can you provide further information regarding the rainy season? I'm guessing you're able to get to the property during rainy season. That's actually one of our due diligence questions that we have folks ask when they're looking at property, but just looking for your feedback there. And I'm guessing, Jeff, you're in the tropics. It's going to rain, and sometimes it's like Florida rain. Sometimes it'll rain for an hour during the day, and then it's sunshine, and you never even knew it rained. And sometimes it's just raining for a couple of days at the time. But Jeff, I see Patrick, you also unmuted. We're all very familiar with rainy season in the tropics, so I
just want to throw my 2 cents into here too, because I think a lot of people, certainly from North America, I spend a lot of time in my life. Spencer's calling now from Vancouver Island, where he lives, and people like in the Seattle, Vancouver, that kind of area, or those kind of areas, think of rain and they think of months or weeks at a time without seeing the sun. And so when people said, May or whatever is the starting of the rainy season, I'd always think, oh no, here it comes. But I actually prefer the rainy season in Central America to the drier season, because everything gets more lush and beautiful, and flowers come out and butterflies come out and everything, and it cools it down a bit. And the kind of in Vancouver or Seattle, you get a week worth of rain and you never see the sun. In a place in Central America, you can get that same amount of rain in 15 minutes, and it comes down heavily, very heavily, sometimes torrentially, but then it's over. And the rest of your day is still useful, and often happens at night as well. I know in a lot of these climates, you get a lot of rain at night, and you wake up in the morning and it's nice and fresh, and the sun comes out, and it's like hard to believe that it's considered quote unquote rainy season. But Jeff, I don't know if you want to add to that or anything.
Well, I would say that it's what makes everything so lush and beautiful is the amount of rain. I moved here from Colorado, which sees no rain. Our water is snow melt. And so I was just thrilled to see rain. And one of the future, the vision for the property is that we would take advantage of that fact here and make rain a wonderful, beautiful thing on the property. And it is, because it makes everything so lush. But maybe, and Spencer's there, you know, we want to design things around the fact that, yes, it's going to rain certain times. The question of when rainy season is, rainy season runs approximately from mid-October to December. And so that's when we get the majority of our rainfall. We get another spot in July. But the hottest month of the year in this part of Honduras is March and April. That's our hottest months, and we see very little rain during those times. But as Patrick said, it's actually a beautiful sight to see the rain, and it's not nonstop. It comes in patterns. Sometimes it's nights. Sometimes it's in the afternoons. Sometimes it's first thing in the morning. But usually it's a pattern that flows. But the property is designed to be functional during that rainy season. And this last year, of course, we had an unusual amount of rain fall in this part of the world. And there was not a time when we would not be able to access the property, all parts of the property. And so we're not close to large rivers. We do have some springs that come up on the property, but those are not affected by rainfall. The rivers are about a mile away each way from the Reef, a little bit more than a mile one way, and maybe 2.5 miles one way and 1 mile the other way. And they border the property. One borders the property on one side, and the other one is not near our property. So we don't have the issue of the flooding of the rivers and being in that floodplain.
Awesome. And, something I know that has been asked and will continue to get asked is the hurricanes. So, just understandably, we build in parts of the world that see, natural occurrences, the acts of God, and that just is what it is. But we know what we're building in and where we're building in. So we build to hurricane standards. I think that's an important thing for note. We build with hurricane proof windows. I think that's something that's important to build. I know for a lot of people, in Belize here, we once examined the little wooden houses, the cute little wooden houses. They're charming and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we want to build something that's going to last for our owners. And wooden houses aren't that in the Caribbean. So just something for you all to note is it is something that we most certainly thought about and are going to be building to hurricane category 4 standards. So please do bear that in mind. Yeah, sure.
A little bit there too. Yeah, I think that's another thing that, when you live in, I know for myself, living in North America for most of my life, I never thought of, building anything but what we call stick homes, which is, wooden, wooden posts and, studs and around the house. And that's it. That was the options in North America for the most part. You very rarely see steel and concrete homes. But in what we do is we build steel and concrete homes. So these homes, the reason I want to bring this up is it kind of answers a number of questions. We get questions about, what about insurance, or what about this, the hurricanes or storms or whatever. These are concrete homes that are going to be there for 1,000 years. And if you don't knock them down with a bulldozer, they will be there for a long, long time. Just like the ancient ruins are still around from 2,000, 3,000 years ago. These homes are, and the other thing too, we don't put carpets on the floors. We down here you use tiles and hardwoods and different types of things. And if you left your window open or something and a hurricane came through and it got all sorts of water on your floor, big deal. You mop it up, and you move on. You know, that's it. It's like it doesn't do any damage, right? But you know, we don't. When you have drywall and carpet and everything, if it gets wet, it's a mess. But with tile and concrete walls, it's really simple to deal with. You just push the water out, it dries, and away you go. So people have to kind of get their head around a little bit the different kind of construction techniques and methodologies, because it really takes care of all those things. I mean, the flooding doesn't matter. If it did, you know, like Jeff said, it's not in a floodplain, so it wouldn't happen. I mean, if you get a hurricane, sure, you could get water coming through around the home, absolutely. But then when it subsides again, it's not a big deal. And so, you know, I noticed there was an insurance question, and just throw that in here right while we're at it, is like a lot of people, well, most people don't get any kind of home insurance, other than some people get content insurance in terms of what's in the home. But in terms of the home itself, you know, you can't burn a concrete home. So, you know, how many different things can happen to a concrete home, I guess, is the question. And so for me, I mean, I have these homes as well, and I don't have any insurance on them at all. I have some content insurance in some places if there's something important in the home that I want to protect. But even that, a lot of times your furniture is also made in local hardwoods and that thing. And it's really kind of just throwing your premiums for insurance away in a lot of cases. Now, I'm not giving people advice on whether to buy insurance or not. You know, if it makes you feel better, then by all means do it. And there are insurance companies. It's very inexpensive, because you can imagine why. Is because they rarely have to pay out when, you know, there's nothing really damaged.
And I'd just like to add to that quickly too. Another addition to the strength of the homes is the fact that they are tiny homes. You really have to consider, not only are they concrete, but they're very dense as far as in terms of spans of walls. There's quite a lot. In a lot of ways, they resemble a bunker. I mean, visually, they're a lot prettier than a bunker, but the home itself, they're short walls. They're concrete. They're extremely strong homes. For that reason, they're stronger than even a typical concrete home. So they will last a very, very long time.
One thing I would mention is that these homes are not directly on the beach. So they are behind another portion of the development, which will take place. And so they are protected from that. But I think this last year was probably the most challenging year that Central America had weather-wise. And Honduras sits in a unique position to the rest of Central America, where the Caribbean is on the north coast. And so typically what gets hit and did get hit during last season was Nicaragua, because on the Atlantic side, because it sets north and south. But you know, we are kind of around a bend here. So typically when storms go through, they go through and hit Mexico, Cancun, Cozumel, those areas. So we're not as subject to that type of situation. Last year was an exception to that. And so, but we didn't suffer any structural damage to completed homes. No windows were broken. Some of the homes that were under construction, we had to do a little work on, but like Patrick says, you know, it's with these homes, it's just a matter of they're concrete. You just clean them out if that were ever to happen. We have not had that situation happen on a completed home on this property.
One of the good things about the location, well, first of all, most hurricanes actually go further north than this. You know, it's even quite rare for Belize to get any kind of hurricane damages, because most of them go up into the Gulf of Mexico or spin around, you know, Miami, New Orleans, that kind of area. But, you know, when they are down further south, which sometimes they do take a kind of a rare turn and come down this way, like last year, the nice thing about having the beach facing north is it's kind of like a glancing blow as the hurricanes are moving from the east to the west generally before they turn up to the north into the US. And so your wave action that's caused by the hurricanes is kind of is kind of blowing by from right to left as you're looking out on the beach versus coming right at you, which causes, you know, the wave swells. And then plus any wave action that is coming from the north towards the south, you've got Roatan, Nutila, and the other islands there that, you know, have some protectionary factor as well from blocking the waves. So it, you know, from that standpoint, it's one of the better areas in the Caribbean to be in, you know, from a storm perspective.
And, you know, something that you mentioned is that the homes aren't right there on the water, as you can all see there by the diagram. So I did see a question come through that asked about future development and what is slated to be in that area. Can someone just expand on that a little bit more? I know this is actually a common question we get, so at least we'll get it recorded now.
Yeah, so those are mostly going to be single family homes that are going to be on the front. You do see the common area that's there. The larger area to the right we've yet to come up with a specific plan for that. But yes, we will be making at some point some beachfront builds available further down the line.
Most of the homes in the Reef community too, and the designs that Spencer's put together in those model homes is the you know, you have a deck basically on either around the top floor if it's a 2-story, or right on top of your roof is your deck. So that gets you up higher too, and you can, you know, see in the development vernacular that we use, it, you know, you have view corridors, right? So even if there's a home, you know, kind of on those lots in front of you, which there will be sometime, you know, you still have the view corridors from the main floor through them between the homes, but then when you get up higher, you know, you can see a lot more.
And so someone is asking here, can the rooftops be added to the Delphine for additional outdoor living? So Stuart, there is some outdoor space there. I don't think it would necessarily work to get to the rooftop because I'm guessing that's where the solar panels are. So you can't have like a rooftop, but you are able to have above the first floor there. Yeah,
well, the rooftop of, well, the first floor roof is actually your outdoor deck, right? There's another bedroom and bathroom up there, but there's still a lot of roof space for your deck. On top of the wooden structure on there is, you're right, Rachel, that's where solar panels are going to be. So you can't really keep going higher and walk around on them, but they all have been designed, you know, with the rooftop decks, like as best that we could here with the green roofs and everything, so that you do get a you know, great view.
Awesome. And then the other question is how many steps from the beach? I know some of us have longer legs than others, but mile wise, you'd say how far from the beach? I think you said 262 feet. Jeff, which I don't know actually what that is mile wise, but you can see it's close. I mean, you're literally steps away. You're there a minute and a half to the water.
I think you should be able to throw a rock.
Well, to give you an example, yeah, the front lots are 50 meters deep. So that's what, 100 and how many, Patrick, help me?
About 150 feet, a little more than 150 feet.
Feet wise, 50 meters.
Yep. There you go, guys. Yeah. So very, very
and
close.
So then there's just the street, and then there's you, right? So very close. So good buffer, right?
My footsteps are
close enough to be right there, right?
Sorry, Jeff. My footsteps are pretty much exactly 1 meter or 3 feet and a bit. So for me, it would be 50 steps to the beach, basically, as a case applies. So however long it takes you to walk 50 steps is what it would take.
That's good. I gotta measure out my steps now and see what mine is. You got a lot longer legs than I do though, Patrick. All right, so the other question, and this is probably for you, Spencer, is the size of the lots. How big are the lots? And the biodigester, is there one per lot?
Oh, so I believe I'll actually let Jeff answer on the biodigester, but the lots themselves range, it just depending because they're not all identical, just given the curvature of it, but they're roughly 1,200 to upwards of 2,500 square feet. So, you know, definitely enough for a garden additionally around your property and some living space there as well. I'll let Jeff answer on the biodigester. I believe there's one communal one, but he knows the answer to that.
So actually it's 3 homes are connected to a biodigester system. And that is what has been officially approved for islands. Something that we use, you can look that up online to see the intricacies of how a biodigester works.
Yeah, from an ecological standpoint.
That a sufficient answer?
Yeah, sorry, Jeff, you're cutting out a little bit, so I just thought I'd jump in. But from an eco-friendly standpoint, they're great little machines that basically, churn up everything, digest it with bacteria, and send fairly clear water out the other end back that's safe to drain out. So, like Jeff said, these tiny homes. I mean, typically the biodigesters and those kind of filtration units come in different sizes, shapes, and sizes. But one that's for a regular home, you can get more tiny homes on one. But that's all taken into account. Obviously the sewer lines that are running from under the ground from your homes.
Awesome. So the next question I'm seeing here, and this is actually one that I thought about as you're talking there, Spencer, is that the titling of the homes. So all of the homes, guys, are individually titled. You will get, they call it escritura publica in civil law countries. You will get a physical title for yours. This isn't a lease. This isn't a share or anything along those lines. You own the land and the home. So good news there. And Jeff, based on your experience of being in Honduras, not Belize, being in Honduras, about how long does it take to get title to properties? And everybody should be aware, Latino time, mañana, mañana, mañana. So just set the expectations right from the get-go.
Well, that process is fairly quick. Once the paperwork is turned in, things move fairly quickly with that. So I would say approximately 2 to 4 weeks after the paperwork has been completed.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And in Belize, it's like a year. Panama, it's like 2-3 years. So that is definitely setting records for the countries that we work in. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. I'm seeing a lot of questions here. The residency process. What is the residency process like? Can I qualify for residency through the home ownership? And the answer to that is yes, you can qualify for the investor residency. You just need to have an investment of $50,000 or more into the country. So obviously any of these homes will qualify you for that $50,000 or more. You do need to title the name of your home in a Honduran company. That's pretty common, but we can introduce you to an attorney. You can get chatting on conversations there to see if it is something that makes sense for you. There's also the retiree visa and multiple options. So if anybody's interested in the residencies, feel free to reach out to us. We have a little residency guidebook that we'd be happy to send your way. Another question that I saw over here before was, is the home price including the lot? And yes, the home lot is included in that price that you saw. I'm going to just scroll back a little bit before to the different models. And you'll see there, am I going the right way? Here we are. Yes. So here you will see the prices. That does include the home lot. They obviously don't include the furniture or the appliances. So if you do want to be part of the rental program, you are required to get the furniture, to get the appliance package. That is something you will need. We want to make sure we're giving a great standardized experience to our guests that are coming in based on our experience of doing this over the last 25 years. It really does make sense for you to have the furniture package so the guest knows what they're getting. They're all standard rentals across the board, and really just helps with the marketing too. So yes, you will need the appliances and the furniture package there. HOA, you can see $162 a month. It's really quite comprehensive for that. It includes upkeep of the common areas. The third space is obviously the pool as well. Security, there is 24-hour security, as Jeff mentioned before, a reserve fund, trash pickup. There's quite an extensive list. So if you'd like a copy of that, just feel free to reach out to us and we can get that over to you. And the one question, Jeff, Patrick, Spencer, that we get all the time is internet. Obviously, Jeff, you're there on site. Your internet's good. We were FaceTiming earlier. You can see your face. Why don't you just give us an overview of what the internet, how is internet received, and what is the speed?
Okay, so we have a repeater station on our property for the internet company, and then it is transmitted to the homes wirelessly. The future plan is to put in fiber optic at some point, but right now we're using a repeater station. The packages are unlimited use, but 5, 10, and 20 MBS are the speeds.
And generally,
so I have, to give you an example.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Are you there? Are you listening to me?
Yeah, I cut you off, so I'll let you go.
Can you hear me, Patrick?
Yep, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, okay. No, and so our for instance, our television is via internet, so it works on our system.
And what I was just going to add to that generally in most of these countries, you know, the bandwidth that you want or feel that you need is kind of unlimited. It's just how much are you willing to pay, and it's because you know most of the providers will quote 10, 20 megabit or whatever they'll quote, because that's what everybody wants. But you never know until you ask for something more. If you're an architect or an engineer, and you know saving big CAD files to the cloud or something, and you're doing that and back and forth all the time or whatever. But I use Amazon Fire Sticks for TV, for streaming television, and I usually have 2 or 3 TVs and go on at the same time watching hockey, and my wife's watching something else, and that works fine in all those locations. And even if you have 10 megabits, it works fine. But it's usually just a matter of requesting more, and if you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Hey, can I just quickly jump in and touch? I just wanted to correct some numbers. I did the conversions wrong in my head earlier, but it's actually the smallest lots are 1,700 square feet, and the largest ones are upwards of 3,200. So quite a bit bigger than I originally stated there, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Awesome. Thank you, Spencer. Yeah, it's always good when you underestimate. All right. So the next question I'm going to say here, and this is, Patrick, this is good for you. I know that although you're married to a Latina, your Spanish may not be the best, but I'm just curious because, obviously you're down there in Honduras and you're traveling and visiting the site. Did you feel that you needed to know Spanish at any point? Were you okay with your English?
I mean, there's kind of 2 parts to the answer to that. My Spanish is terrible. My wife lets me know that regularly. She's from Ecuador and says, how come you've been down here so long and you can't speak Spanish? But I don't know. I think I'm good at math, and language isn't my thing. But I get by very well with, hand gestures and learning a few words. And that's kind of the second part of the answer is I think effort is probably the word. I mean, if you put in a little effort with people, you try to learn a few words and they see that you're trying it, it always makes people more willing to help. But I get by perfectly well. And there's anytime there's a kind of a touristy area, you're going to have a lot of people that speak English in the region as well. So although Honduras is Spanish is the first language, and there's a lot of people that speak English in these areas, and for whatever reason my Spanish is terrible, but I get by just fine. And I literally live and work in all these countries. And since January, I've been to every country in Central America and a few in South America, and I've never really feel hindered. And it's fun to, it's fun to try to learn a new language. It's not that fun for me because I'm not good at it, but for most people it's fun.
Just pick up the keywords. I know you do have the keywords down, and that really goes a long way. So going back to the effort comment, I think that's so true.
Well, the problem I have, I think, is I have two crutches. First, my wife is obviously fluent in Spanish as her first language, and she's fluent in English too. But then, there's so many apps out there now that I just, for some reason, I'm not communicating getting my point across. I just say it into my phone and have it repeat in Spanish to whoever I'm talking to. So I get by perfectly well. In fact, sometimes it's probably a good thing when I'm wandering through the markets talking to myself. It's probably good that not everybody knows what I'm saying.
Awesome.
I would like to add to that. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that okay, Rachel?
Yeah, please.
I always tell people that I think it's good that you don't sometimes that you don't speak Spanish, and people say, well, why is that? And I say, because obviously communication is what, I can't remember what the rule is, but very little is of communication is actually speaking, talking, and most of communication is done in other ways and with people. And the people, I have never been in a place in my life, and one of the reasons I fell in love with Honduras is because they love North Americans. Hondurans love North Americans. And so they and I think you probably noticed this, Patrick, where you are, they help you through the conversation, right? It's not like other countries where when you don't speak the language, they're like, hey, come back and see us when you speak the language. In Honduras, they just have a love for North Americans, and many, in school here, you're required to take English as part of your school path career. So most Hondurans have a working knowledge of English. And also because we're a big tourism place, a lot of English speaking is going on, especially because the islanders, many of them do not speak Spanish. They only speak English. And so there is a portion of Honduras, of the Honduras population, that in fact doesn't even speak Spanish. They only speak English. So I don't know if that helps a little bit with that question. I was going to
add to that too, Jeff, that when I was a kid, this is dating myself a little bit, but it was known as British Honduras, right? So the fact that the British side on the Caribbean side had a lot of British influence means there's a lot of English spoken here too. But yeah, I mean, just not to harp on that, but that's one of the reasons I love Central America too. The people are just super friendly. I mean, I'm Canadian, and people always say, "Oh yeah, Canadians are so friendly," and I always say, "Yeah, it's true. I think we are generally a friendly people. It's a bit of a stereotype or whatever, but for same goes for Hondurans, Nicaraguans. I think the reason that stuck out so much for me and made me want to live in Central America was I had just gone to Paris, France, and not to disrespect anybody from France, but I wasn't treated well when I didn't know the French language in Paris. I tried to get a subway ticket and on their underground subway, and it was a disaster. It took me forever because no one was willing to even try to communicate with me. And then shortly after that, I ended up down in Central America, and it was the polar opposite. Everybody was just over the top, willing to help. And even like, not just, with language, with everything. I had a flat tire, and, one time I took a flat tire and all these people poured out of the jungle. It seemed like. I thought, oh no, what's going on here? They came and they helped me change my tire and send me on my way. And that was it. Didn't expect anything in return. And another time I had a flat tire and the police pulled over, and I thought, I had a friend, and he was like, oh, well, the police are coming. What did we do? And it's like, no, I think they're here to help. And sure enough, they helped me jack up the truck and change the tire, and away they went. They just said, well, you're kind of in a blind curve here, so we figured we better help you because we don't want you to stay here too long. So, it's always been great experiences with the friendliness of the people. So that's, to me, it's one of the greatest things about this type of community is you're in something like the Reef where you've got, like-minded people sitting around. It doesn't matter where you're from. You could be from Brazil or Australia or Germany or wherever, and you're making friends in these communities. And then, you have the beauty of the ocean in front of you, the mountains behind you. And it just, it's really a hard thing to find in the world. And that's why one of the reasons I'm really excited about this community. And I think it's going to be a really cool place to be. Back to you, Rachel.
All righty. Awesome. So, there's still some more questions here. They both actually relate to the La Ceiba airport. And this actually probably, Jeff, is more for you. Is the property under a flight path? You just concerned a little bit about the plane noise.
So the answer to that is no, we are not. We sit parallel kind of to the airport. And so the flight path goes around us. It's out in the ocean about a mile or two off into the ocean. And then it goes completely around us. So it's very rare for us to have them fly directly overhead. So noise is not typically an issue. Very, very rare to have air traffic over the top of us.
Okay, perfect. And then the question is La Ceiba an international airport? Yes. And then which airlines provide international flights? Do you have that at the top of your mind by any chance, Jeff?
So typically, and I believe they start up again next year, we get the Sunwing comes in here to La Ceiba directly out of Toronto. And I'm trying to remember the name of the other one that also comes in directly from Toronto to Roatan and La Ceiba. So they make this stop. La Ceiba is scheduled again to be one of the main airports of Honduras, but we're served by the Cayman Airways also comes here, so you can get a flight directly from the Cayman Islands to here and out to the Cayman Islands and through there to North America. And then our other airport, San Pedro Sula, sister airport, that serves all the major airlines, Delta, United, and American Airlines. And so does Roatan. It serves, I believe, Delta, United, American come into Roatan. And you can take a quick ferry ride across, or you can do a jumper across.
Awesome. All right. So that, really wraps up the questions that we have here. I'm just looking at my list. I know we said this is an hour and I just realized the time, guys. So I am sorry. I really appreciate everybody who's been hanging on here, but it's been good. There's a lot of really great information and, it's all really good stuff that you'll need to know or want to know as you pick out your specified home. So with that, I'm going to say we'll end here. And if anybody has any questions that pop up, email us webinar@ecidevelopment.com. Just to go back here quickly, here are our wonderful property consultants. These are our team members. And what is really awesome about the team members are they are all people who've been there, done that sort of thing. So they've moved to another country. They have their residence in another country, their citizenship in another country. So it's a really great group of people. You'll see professionals, people who are really dedicated to this international lifestyle that we're living and talking about. So with that being said, I want to say thank you, Jeff, Spencer, Patrick, so much for your time today. This was awesome. I'm looking forward to growing the community out there in La Ceiba and at the property and having the chance to meet folks in person too. So any last words from the three of you?
I just want to say thanks as well. It was awesome doing this again. I'm looking forward to continuing to, show people a new place that they can have a new kind of lifestyle with a bunch of fun people to hang around with. So this is going to be great. And, thanks to everybody that was on here. And if you didn't get your questions answered for some reason on here, or just think of questions later, just make sure you talk to your property specialist and they'll get you the answers.
Awesome. 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 All right. Thank you, everybody. Once again, really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you in Honduras soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.